his love endures forever. And holding on to those as a truth that is never going to shake. That because of the cross and the empty tomb, there's a hope. And so, no matter what, we can give thanks because his love endures forever. Seasons of Psalms. It's a sermon series that we've been in for the last few weeks, and we're going to bring it to a conclusion today. Next Sunday, Pastor Rast is going to be a guest preacher. He's been doing the Bible study in the gym, and then we go into his kingdom first. And so as I was thinking about that, Psalms of Thanksgiving, they're my favorite. I love the positivity of it. That's one of my strengths, but also because I think they really can be a guide for us as we look at life and how we view it, and it has some practical things that we can take from it. And so as we look at Thanksgiving, I think we also have to kind of talk about entitlement, right? And so entitlement is this idea that I deserve whatever it is that's in front of me. Not because I've earned it necessarily, but because I'm simply me. So it's really focused in on self and saying, no, I'm owed this. Versus Thanksgiving, which is looking at the blessings of what God has done for you and seeing how you're a part of his creation and how his love cares for you. And out of his love, he cares for you. And I had a perfect example of what this looks like in real time happen earlier this week. I was at a restaurant, and a waitress brought out 2 appetizers. It seems like the kitchen accidentally made 3 of the same thing, and only one was ordered. So she had these 2 appetizers, and she took one to a table, and she asked the person at the table, I have a free appetizer. It's on the house. Would you like it? The response was, well, that's not how I would have ordered it. Could you go make it with A, B, and C? The waitress is like, no, this is how it was made. This is on the house if you want it. And they was, okay. So she gave it to him. Downcast, she went over to the next table, and she said, hey, I've got a free appetizer if you want it. It's on the house. Extra was made. The person at that table said, oh, my goodness. That is amazing. What a blessing. I was just trying to figure out what to eat. Would you go back and say thank you to the cooks? Right? You see how this plays out, right? And you may be thinking in your head, because I think this is how we've labeled things, that, oh yeah, that's probably a younger group at table over here. And that's probably an older group at the table over here that was filled with Thanksgiving. Actually, the table that scoffed was more my parents' age, and the table that was filled with Thanksgiving was more in their 20s probably. But we can, at times, find ourselves in the same kind of predicament, right? Where we can look internally and say, well, I'm owed this. And when we do that, sometimes we lift ourselves up as an idol, versus seeing the world around us as filled with the gifts and the blessing that God has given us. And I think as we think about Thanksgiving and how we view the world and what it means to us, so that we're not looking at it through a lens that says it's all about me, but looking through a lens that says, thank you, God, for what you've done for me. The Psalms can be a super helpful, practical way for us to look through that lens. And so I did a word search to try and figure out, what does the Bible actually say about, or what does the Psalm say about Thanksgiving? And the first search was thank offerings, because this comes from the Old Testament. And as people were giving thanks to God, they would offer up these sacrifices, these offerings. And so there's 4 Psalms that talk about those. And then there's these other Psalms that talk about giving thanks, like Psalm 136, right? Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. And then the idea of Thanksgiving. Now, not the holiday, right? That's coming in a couple months. But just that act of actively giving thanks comes into the Psalms as well. And so I want to look at Psalm 136 in a very practical light today, because I think it really can help us as a guide so that we can look through a lens of seeing God's blessings. And I think it starts out with that phrase that we all repeated so many times, right? That his love endures forever. Because if we hold on to that and we know that, that means that his love has always been there. It's here now, and it will always be there. That love that it helps us know that we are loved and that we are forgiven and we have hope, and creates an identity of what it means to be a child of God because of what Jesus has done for us, right? And so we anchor on that idea that his love endures forever as something that we can always be thankful for. But I think the Psalms help us even more than just giving us a phrase. I think they help us see what it is that God wants us to be thankful for, and how that can impact our lives. So a few weeks ago, Pastor Goff talked about Psalm 139. And this is a psalm that like our school kids memorize yearly, and a lot of us hold dear, right? I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Did you know that as God fearfully and wonderfully made us, he made us in a way that we could retrain our brains, right? So as we look at that, it's called neuroplasticity. And it means that the habits we form, our brain keeps track of. So it memorizes things, and it keeps our memories and our processing. But it also is the lens that we look through life. And so if your lens is always about me, your brain goes there first. Versus if you're always thinking, oh, what blessings are around me that God has given me, then your brain starts to look for those. And it becomes a part of the lens that you look through. And we had a perfect example of that as Mrs. Baines was talking about. Through her week, she started to see more and more blessings, right? It's the way our brain was created, because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that is an amazing thing that helps us move from a point where it's all about me to saying, okay, God, I see your blessings. And now, as we look at Psalm 136, it's not just about this idea of it's all about me. There's actually other practical helps that we see within that psalm that counselors lean on often as tools for people who are dealing with a lot of different things. And so one of those things is anxiety. Now, this isn't talking about just being anxious for the test that's coming up, right, or the interview, but it's talking about when you're dealing with an anxiety where you are fixated on one thing and one thing only, and you begin to spiral around that thing. One of the helpful pieces to that puzzle that counselors point to is gaining perspective. The idea that it's not just about the thing that's right in front of you, but there's more to the story. It's exactly where Jesus is going in that gospel, right? Don't worry about what you'll eat or drink or wear. God's got that. God's got you. And in a practical sense, Psalm 136 reminds us of that. starting with verse 4. In him alone, to him who alone does great wonders, his love endures forever. Who by his understanding made the heavens, his love endures forever. Who spread out the earth upon the waters, his love endures forever. Who made the great lights, his love endures forever. And the sun to govern the day, his love endures forever. You see, the psalmist and Jesus are both pointing us to a point that our story isn't about just what's in front of us. And so in this practical way, the psalmist is saying, you know what? There's more to your story. And if you anchor it on those words of his love endures forever, you begin to have a foundation that you can see through a lens of thanksgiving, of gratitude, of giving thanks. And that can change the story. There's also depression, right? Oftentimes, in the midst of depression, we find ourselves feeling all alone. Like there is no one else in the world who could understand what we're going through, and everything is getting dark. All right. As we look through that lens of gratitude, we begin to shift the story. And the psalmist has something to say about that as well. He remembered us in our low estate. You see, Jesus doesn't just ignore you, but he's always there. His love endures forever. You're not alone. And what a great reminder and way to even kind of process that, of being able to say, no, I am blessed because God is here with me. And it's not a panacea. It's not going to fix everything. But what it does is it begins to change the story a little bit and help you cope just a little bit. The other thing that we see in this psalm is what gratitude can do for grief. In our grief, and I know that a lot of people are processing a lot of different grief right now, but one of the things that is talked about in grief processing is that it is beneficial to give thanks for what was and to see the blessings that you had, but also to look at today and to see the blessings that are there for you today. Not just always looking back, but coming to what is, and eventually looking at what will be. And we can do that within our grief because his love endures forever. And having that anchor point of knowing whose we are and who we are in Jesus gives us these words. His love endures forever. And in those words, we see a cross and an empty tomb that lead to a hope for tomorrow. They lead us into something we can always be grateful for. So, no matter what you're going through in life right now, there's benefits for being grateful. For being able to say his love endures forever and see that as a blessing. And so you might be someone who's battling with entitlement or anxiety or depression or grief, or you may not be. But in all of our lives, as we see gratitude and we look through that lens, it benefits us because we get to see who God is and who we are in his grace. And so I want to take a few minutes right now and practice this. And so I'm going to invite you to grab your bulletin, flip it to the back page where the parish or the sermon notes are, and on the bottom it says practicing it. Now, our kids have a challenge ahead of them, and that is an amazing challenge. Just every day to see one thing that they are thankful for and put it in that jar. That might be where you're at. That's awesome. Do it. Here's another example that we can see through Psalm 36 on how you could do a gratitude journal. And my hope is this is something that you can take with you. And so, where does the psalmist start? He starts with the big picture. Give thanks to God just for being God, right? Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. So in your own words, what does it look like to give thanks to the Lord? Now, as you continue, what are 3 things, as you think back on your week, that you can say that you're thankful for, that God has blessed you with? It can be people, job, school, whatever comes to mind for you. I know some of you are still writing. Keep going, right? But then I think we can learn from the psalmist in this as well. In his statements, as he concludes, his love endures forever. I really think that is a reminder of our identity. How is it that you claim in your own words that you are a child of God, loved and forgiven and filled with hope for tomorrow? How is it that you remember that his love endures forever? And those words are for you right where you are, because he's covered you in his grace. My hope and challenge is that this is a small piece of something that you can put into your toolbox. When you are feeling any range of emotions and you find yourself needing to kind of come back to have that lens of being grateful, that this is one of those that if you do it for a few days or even weeks or months, you begin to retrain your brain and you begin to see what it is that God is doing in your life to bless you. Starting with his love endures forever, and holding on to those as a truth that is never going to shake. That because of the cross and the empty tomb, there's a hope. And so, no matter what, we can give thanks because his love endures forever. Amen?